A member of the congregation recently reached out and said, Reverend Brian, I have a question about how we continue to live our values as Unitarian Universalists during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I thought, well, wow, that's an interesting question. Tell me a little bit more about this. And they dug a little deeper into it. They said, well, I'm thinking right now of our first principle. How do we honor inherent worth and dignity amidst everything that is happening? How do we honor inherent worth and dignity for world leaders and politicians that don't have our best interests at heart? How do we honor inherent worth and dignity for people who are out there protesting, violating stay-at-home orders, putting their lives at risk and others at risk, and are distrusting science and facts, and are continuing the spread of this pandemic? How do you honor their inherent worth and dignity? Whoa, that is quite the question. And yet it's something we do need to think about here. You know, our 7 official Unitarian Universalist principles and the 8th principle we adopted here in this congregation, they can be used as a lens to ground and center us as we are getting all of the information, all of the bad news that is constantly flowing our way, no matter where we turn, whether it's social media, the news, wherever we turn, we're getting bad news upon bad news upon bad news with some slivers of hope. And so you've no doubt seen in Frankfurt and other state capitals a convergence of several different movements. You have alt-right movements, anti-vaxxer movements, you have anti-science, anti-fact, anti-government, libertarian, ultra-conservative, white supremacist movements converging on capitals to protest the stay-at-home orders, saying COVID-19 is a hoax, and so many other things. You've surely seen the signs of protesters. And you see the signs and you wonder, what on earth are they thinking? Why are they feeling this way? Why is there such deep distrust in science and facts and the government? And the irony here is you sometimes see the "don't tread on me" flags, which is funny because that is the exact message we need right now. Don't tread on me, keep your distance, prevent the spread of COVID-19. And yet they're using that as a symbol of individual liberty. And you even see people with signs saying they'd rather be sick and free instead of imprisoned. They view this as being imprisoned. And no doubt you've also seen the articles where some of these protesters, they ultimately get sick. They spread that sickness to others, and they die, and others die. Sometimes they recover, but the things that make the headlines are the ones who die. And the urge there is to go, good. I'm glad that happened to you. You had it coming. What on earth were you thinking? And we can think those things. I think those things. I struggle with those things. And yet then I remember that COVID-19 is a devastating, absolutely devastating and isolating virus. Those people, even though we probably disagree on every point of politics and religion, and we would never see eye to eye on anything, those people died alone. Absolutely alone. Did they make choices that exposed them and put them at risk and led to their deaths? Yes, that's true. We must hold them accountable. This is not a call to meekness and to ignore these things. But they died alone. They died afraid. They died without being able to say goodbye to their loved ones. They were loved too by family and friends. And they're gone. The virus stripped away their inherent worth and dignity. And so the temptation is to go, yeah, good, I'm glad. And yet by doing that, we further strip away that inherent worth and dignity. We further the isolation and loneliness that this disease fosters. We further the divide in our culture by saying it's an us versus them. This is what COVID-19 does. This is what a politics that doesn't affirm inherent worth and dignity does. And so our call as Unitarian Universalists is not to gloss over this and ignore this, but instead to, honor the accountability and call people out and hold them accountable, and yet to call them back in with love. This doesn't mean a love that is all fluffy clouds and unicorns and rainbows. Love can be hard. Love can be angry. Love can be full of righteous indignation, but love always has room to call people back in. And so that is our work right now. Even though we have fear, even though that there is rage and anger, and I'm with you, at people violating these orders, at our leaders not doing what they should be doing to keep us safe, there's anger and rage, and yet, as a Unitarian Universalist, I have to honor inherent worth and dignity. Above all else, I have to go, you still have worth and dignity, and even in your death that you caused for yourself, you still have dignity, and you deserve that. So that's not easy. Our principles were never meant to be easy. They were never meant to be lofty statements that we don't wrestle with. And so that is our challenge here. And so I'd love to hear your questions about our other principles that we'll be digging into and how we can reflect on them and use them to ground and center us during this time. Thank you all. Blessed be. Amen.